But he was an outrageous guest, wasn't he?
He was, and I found myself from the very beginning of the show behind the screens. Some of the stuff that he came out with, my jaw hit the table. I'm like, oh no.
Do you know what the best thing about the show was?
What's that?
Nothing was edited whatsoever.
That was
show.
100% unedited.
The Thinking Tackle Podcast.
For this week's show, we have something a little different for you. Joining me today in the studio is Toby Clarke. Now, many of you will know that Toby is the producer of the Thinking Tackle podcast. He's also my personal organiser and confidant. Without him, the show wouldn't be possible. Now, over the past couple of years, we've been in the company of many of carp fishing's biggest names. So we thought, why not take a look back and pick our top 5 favourite episodes. We're also going to share with you a little more background gossip relating to these episodes. Hope you enjoy the show. All right, Toby Clarke. This is a bit unusual. We are live. Welcome to the podcast.
That feels like a really weird dream I've just had, actually, being in this seat. Because, usually when I'm over there.
Well, you said as well, didn't you, that normally, you're sat over there and the sound's different as well on the headphones.
The sound is different, but many guests and yourself complain, and I used to just tell you all to be quiet. Well, actually...
I've complained for 2 years.
Yeah, you have. I've just told you to get on with it, and I put these headphones on, and I'm like, I feel like I'm in a box. So, I do apologise.
No, thank you very much. Well, at least you've seen it for yourself anyway.
Yeah, I suppose it's a good time to tell you I haven't got a gift.
You haven't got a gift?
No, I haven't. I really haven't.
I'm really disappointed at that.
I always thought as well, of all the gifts that come on the table, I always thought, I wonder what I'd bring. And I haven't got one.
What would you bring? No idea.
Do you know what I would bring? I know exactly what I'd bring.
Go on.
And maybe, if I've got the picture, we'll throw it up afterwards. I'm going to tell Toby over there to throw it on the edit. I've got the picture of our first ever podcast setup next door in the clothing room. Of my laptop on the table with both mics, surrounded by all the clothing samples and stuff like that. And it was before we were about to do our first ever record. And I always thought I'd probably get that in a nice frame or something. Yeah. Because that's really where it all started.
It was, and did you not think as well when we were doing that? Because we would rehearse, wouldn't we? We actually got quite a lot of practice in that summer.
Yeah, we did get loads in actually. Yeah, or I could have got the receipt from when you bought me dinner in Liverpool. Actually, that'd have probably been that's going back a step even further.
Yeah.
But it's probably a good time to tell everyone that they're not going to have to listen to me drone on for a few hours because we've got something a bit different, haven't we?
Yeah, so for this show, we thought, well, this is going to be number 59, isn't it?
Yeah, it is episode 59, yeah.
So we've almost got to that point where, we want to put, we're going to put a show out with our 5 favourite podcast clips, stroke guests.
We read it, well, as everyone knows, we read all the comments, don't we? And a few people said that, well, they wouldn't mind if we sat and had a chat. So we thought about it and thought, well, we always talk about our favourite podcast moments, what they might be. And we thought, why don't we make a show about it?
Yeah. And as usual, we're not agreeing on any of this, are we? So
no, we actually...
we're going to find a happy compromise
It took some time, and then when we did agree on the 5 clips, we didn't agree on which order they should have got in.
No, but we're going to go from 5 to 1 anyway, aren't we?
We are, yes. We are going to go in 5 to 1.
So for number 5 on our...
Let's see if you remembered the order now. No pressure.
It's a struggle. I'll be giving you my order.
That's it, yeah. You're going to totally throw a left.
So number 5... No, I think we've got the order about right, and I think we've come to some sort of happy compromise with this as well, haven't we?
Because we've got I believe we've got a nice variety of content, different guests, some significant moments, some funny moments. There's a little bit of everything in there, isn't there?
Well, it's really difficult because the shows are so different.
Yeah.
But I think we agree as well that we come away from certain shows, and certain shows, they just leave you with a little bit extra sometimes, don't they?
Have you left your phone on again?
I might have done, yeah. But they won't hear that. So number 5 then.
Number 5, if I remember correctly, I think I've got it wrong now. Did we say number 5 was Nick Hellier?
We didn't.
Sorry, Nick. Well, no, let's go anyway. No, in that case, we said number 5 was Pete Regan, didn't we?
Right.
Just because I mean, his laughter, everything about his show was just, it was ridiculous, wasn't it? I mean, he came in and he turned it on his head, really, Pete, didn't he?
He did, and I mean, we had Damien with him as well, didn't we?
Yeah, my old man wanted to make sure when we arranged that show. He said beforehand. He said, I remember speaking to him. He said, "I'll be on that one." I said, "Sorry." He said, "I'll be on that one." I was like, "Well, Dad, I didn't ask you." He said, "No, I'll be there. I need to make sure Pete doesn't say anything that's going to get us into trouble."
It was a bit of a referee, wasn't it?
That's the best way, actually. He did, the mediator. But I've known Pete for years, and I do love him like family. I always say he's my Uncle Pete. But he's the best example of everything that you saw on camera is Pete off camera. He's like that to anybody, anywhere.
What you see is what you get with Pete.
Absolutely.
Isn't it? Yeah.
But yeah, his show was just brilliant. I mean, within a couple of minutes, didn't he? He just stopped and said, "Well, when are we going to start?"
Yeah.
And that was when we were doing our...
I like the bit as well where he said to me, he said, "Hang on a minute." He said, "You get to present every show. This is my show now. I'm doing all the talking."
But he'd have really meant that.
Yeah.
He'd have really meant that. But, you know, Pete was just... And we know everybody loved his show. There were so many nice comments. Everybody wants a part 2 for Pete, don't they?
He was one of the first guests. He was the very first guest that we actually went down and met as well, wasn't he?
Yes. That was a good day.
That was the first meet.
Yeah.
And I remember speaking
shout out to
Pete.
Maureen.
Yeah, shout out to Maureen.
Homemade sausage rolls, weren't they?
Yeah, but I mean, very nice, wasn't it? But I remember going down there, and we went down in the summer to go and see him as well, didn't we?
Yeah,
and
we did.
We didn't actually end up recording until I think he was saying, "When are we going to do this podcast?" And I think we kept putting it off.
We did keep putting it back. We did. But you know, when it came round, I mean, it was a brilliant show, wasn't it? It really, you know, I've listened to it many a times since then. It's made me laugh, you know, throughout.
Yeah.
And like I said, everybody wants that part 2 and you know, for everyone listening, we have tried. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think that will be a one-off, you know.
Oh, we'll see anyway.
Yeah.
The clip that we're going to put up is Pete was talking about actually fishing into weeds. So there was a bit of interesting fishing content there as well. He was casting into weed and catching fish right in amongst the weed, which is pretty unusual. So that's the clip that we're going to put up now.
Okay. Do we need to give some kind of viewer discretion and warning for explicit language?
Well, probably, because there's bound to be some sort of explicit language there. But just to let you know that if you hear any swear words or whatever, well, that's just Pete, isn't it?
It's just Pete, I'm afraid. Yeah, let's give it a watch.
And my philosophy was, I don't know if it's right. I don't even care if I'm right. I don't care about much at all. But my philosophy was, I nearly forgot what I was saying then, was if you've got a light lead and that's hung up in the weed, that's no longer a light lead, is it?
No, it's not. It's a very heavy
but
lead.
I'll tell you what, you can do a little trick. You can put solder wire through that because you can bend it anywhere you like, can't you? You can put solder wire there. And so when you cast that out, then that try to grab everything on the way down, and that is going to hang up. And if you climb up a tree, it's like if you get a fish snagged in a weed and you go out after it in a boat, and I ain't done much of this, but you go out and you look into the water, there's nothing there really, is there, when you're above it? It's when it's this way and you try to pull it that way, that's the problem. Yeah. And if you get that rig, as I did at the Hertz Club Water, and cast it out under the trees, you know, the top under the trees, not the main one, and look down on it, it looks perfect. And you get away with murder because you can have thick line, you can have it tight or slack. I have it tight. Do what you like. Do what you like. And you get that scum, all that scum. Why I caught some fish there was that PVA, that thing. But instead of putting PVA in it, put stones in it.
Right.
And then cast it out, and that, you know, sludge, it drifts around.
So you never wanted to fish a longer hook link, Pete, and actually make sure that the bait was actually set above the weed. You were quite happy just fishing.
That'd be reasonably long.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no exact science.
Yeah.
It just worked, didn't it? It just worked. The fish were in there. They're feeling safe,
really, isn't it? Yeah.
And you caught loads, didn't you?
Yeah. But you've done me a favour then, because the first £30, I think Neil Spooner might have mentioned it, the first £30 common I ever caught was at Jaywick. And I didn't have a film, or I didn't have it connected. So I didn't get a picture. Yeah, and you caught it, didn't you?
Yeah. There's a picture of Tobe with me and you, isn't there, Tobe?
Yeah, I've got that. Hang on.
Yeah, so I managed to get a photograph with it in the end anyway.
So you got your first £30 comment. Big deal, right? Let's get some...
There it is, yeah.
Look at you there, Toe.
We were laughing.
Scrumpled up little face
I'd been
there.
a member of the lake for a few years, but I dropped out for a few years, and this was our first trip back. So Peter
You
caught,
look young here, David, don't you?
Well,
I married Wendy. She made me look old now. But so you caught rhino, which I think was the second biggest fish in the lake at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then we caught. I think I caught that one, and I caught the big one, didn't I? 43 £.
I think,
I
I
can't
think I might have
remember
that as well.
that being for. Do you know I held the lake record for there
Yeah.
with that fish
Did you?
at 37.6?
Right. Yeah.
That must have been when it first went in. I never knew that fish went over £40.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet you're now saying that I was with you when
Yeah,
it
you were.
did. Yeah, I believe you because I sent a picture of
Yeah.
it. I've got the picture at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was with you when you were at the Bourne Quarry and you had that £40
Common.
It was
Yeah.
a gorgeous fish as well, weren't it? Yeah. So yeah, the good times. A good bunch of boys on Jaywick. That Big Kev and
Andy Poynton,
and
Smithy.
Don Smith and Jonesy, weren't
Jonesy, yeah. Freddie Gibbs. Oh, he wasn't there when you.
No. Freddie Gibbs, I know from Wading Valley Lakes.
Yeah.
I did him a real big favour. I was fishing Wading Valley Lakes and catching quite a few fish on bun spice. It's a good flavour for me, that was. You just get it from British Fermentations at industrial estate by the Norwich Airport. It's for the bakery industry. And caught loads and loads of fish. And I was packing up to go back to sea. I come out my caravan. I just happened to glance in there. And I had a small plastic bag full of bait. So I just drove across the grass. Said, and I knew him well. I said, do yourself a favour, Fred, and use some of them, you see. He used to come down with that Dave, someone, who fished Savay.
Dave Walsh.
Dave Walsh, yeah. So I drove away, and when I got ashore, Dick Wheel said to me, what did you know? I said, I don't know what you talk about. He said, you give them some bait. I ain't give anyone any bait. Then when I went across there, I see Bill, the manager then, and he told me that Fred had stayed on an extra week, and he'd had, I'd give him, say, 60 boilies, and he was drying them out after he caught a fish or reeling it in and then putting it back out, and he caught a load of fish. He did get a chance to pay me back, and he didn't. Actually, it was a Savay. He's in the sluices that caught a lot of fish. And then he wanted to go to work for a shift and come back on the proviso that he got that swim again, which you're not really allowed to do.
Right.
And he let someone go in there who said that they would move out, and when he come back, they didn't move out.
Right.
And rightly so.
Right,
they didn't need to move out. But he could have said, "Oi, Regan, I owe you one. Get in there." And I would have moved out if that was if that was the thing. But yeah.
Waveney was a good area. A good era of. Carp fishing was in a good era when you were fishing there, wasn't
the people I met there. Tom Mintram, I knew Tom Mintram quite well. Jack Hilton, I only met him the once. When I did, I was a burbling idiot, because he was my out-and-out hero. And people like Rod Hutchinson, Lenny Milton, Kevin Maddox, Bob Davis, Keith Gillens. Oh, it goes on and on. It's like the who's who of carp fishing.
It was, yeah. And in those days, like you say, it was such a smaller, select group of people that everybody tended to fish the same.
Do you know the only person I'd never heard of there? Me.
Anyway, Pete, we're at this part of the show where we normally ask for a little gift.
Well, as you well know, I'm well known for three things. The remote control boats.
Yeah, we got this on the table here.
Which I'm proud of. It's a copy of a harvester. My ex-wife clearing off with Rod Hutchinson and getting caught playing with myself down Savay, didn't I? Right? And as I told people at the time, there's wankers and liars. I'm afraid I haven't got a choice. I can't. So I'll come up with this little device.
Guilty as charged, wasn't it?
Oh, no.
I'll come up with this little device.
This would be interesting, mate.
And yes, a little toad. Are you in a toad?
Yes, yeah.
Hear that?
Yeah.
Now, put that at the mouth of the swim. When someone comes in, and I never got caught again. The only problem is I've got to find another one of them quick.
So that thing was probably going off quite a lot then, Pete, was it?
What, people walking in my swim?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Yeah, but then saving you potentially from an
The embarrassing moments.
Yeah.
But because I usually meet people, so I got caught wanking down Savay, but I don't like to mention it because it's quite embarrassing, actually.
And no one really knows, do they? I mean,
No.
he's only had
No
a
one
swim
knows.
named after
I've got a
it.
swim named after
Yeah.
me.
What's the swim called then?
The wanking.
That's, yeah.
No one ever fishes it. Oh, actually, you fished it, mate.
He
didn't you?
did.
You caught some
Yeah.
fish out of there
Caught
last.
some fish out of there.
You
last year.
did.
So I'll put that back in there.
That's a good
so
gift,
anyway,
that, is it? Thank you very much,
you can have
Pete.
that with my love, and feel free to borrow it.
Might do. You always learn something from Pete, don't you?
Yeah, you do. He's got a way with words, to be fair, isn't he?
That was a nice picture of you as well, with the old man there as well. You look like the Milky Bar kid there, Tobe, didn't you?
I'm not blowing my own trumpet or anything, but I do like to think puberty done me well because I didn't have it all together. I mean, Milky Bar kid. I remember I did a summer at Korda, similar age there, or I might have done a week's work or whatever through the summer. And on my last day, I think my dad stitched me up here. I thought it was really funny. He said, "Oh, it's your last day. We'll go and buy everybody some chocolate bars or some cakes. Say thank you. I was going back to school or wherever I was at the time." So he gave me £5 or whatever. And he went, "Go in." I didn't understand the joke at the time. He went, "Go in and buy 10 Milky Bars." I was like, all right, fine. I think for £5 at the time, I got loads more than 10, but came out of all these Milky Bars in my little glasses like that and the hair, all these Milky Bars, walked into the office, handed them out, and everybody's laughing at me, going, "Oh, thanks, Tobe, cheers." I'm going, "Oh, I must be such a nice person." Everybody's having a good old smile, and I think actually there was probably a deeper joke.
Did you never get that resemblance at school then? Did anyone ever mention that to you?
No, they didn't, to be honest. Maybe they weren't as creative or whatever, but
or as nasty.
Or as nasty, yeah. I mean, my father has got he's got a rather dry sense of humour, yeah. He's one of those people, when they tell a joke and everyone goes, "Ooh," he starts laughing. So that's it, yeah. So that's my old man for you.
Yeah, but that was nice, that. I like that. Right, number 5 then, Tobe.
Number 4.
Number 4, sorry.
Well, we've already given away number 4, haven't we, really?
We have, actually.
So the sorry for not building the suspense. Well, it's Nick Hellier, isn't it?
Nick had to be in the top 5,
Nick just...
didn't
I know I said Pete turned the show on its head, but Nick just kind of blew it totally out the window, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He was nervous when he turned up here, though, wasn't he?
He was. Yeah, you wouldn't have believed it at first, but he was. I think he was anyway.
I think Nick's way of being able to deal with things is to put that front on a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean, what you see with Nick again is what you get.
Absolutely, he was exactly like that off camera and on camera.
And
I think it's a good time to credit that the whole hostage situation was his idea, wasn't it?
It was.
He just came in and obviously credit to everyone. But he said, "I watched the shows." He said, "All right." He said, "I don't want my beginning to be the same." He said, "Let's do something different." I said, "All right, Nick. Do you remember?" He was like, "Well, what have you got in mind?" He said, "Why don't you bring me in with a bag on my head?" We were like, "Oh no."
Do you remember? Because I've watched this clip back as well, and Nick said, "Nah, I never watched the shows," but he plays on that a little bit. I think he watched the podcast.
Well, he said he'd never watched it, and then he said, "But I don't want my intro to be like everyone else's."
Yeah,
so I was like, "Well,
you
watched a few then."
Yeah,
but
he was an outrageous guest, wasn't he?
He was, and I found myself from the very beginning of the show behind the screens. Some of the stuff that he came out with, my jaw hit the table. I'm like, oh no.
Do you know what the best thing about the show was?
What's that?
Nothing was edited whatsoever.
That was 100% unedited.
We get asked that a little bit.
Yeah.
Do we edit? And we had to keep that show as authentic as possible, didn't we?
Yeah, we sent it for like a proof watch through management, didn't we? And I remember sending lots of red flag emojis after the subject, please watch. And came back very quickly. No, goes out as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
I'm
is
really, really glad it did.
Yeah, I am. It's a true reflection of Nick. But with all that aside, it was a brilliant show. It was very memorable. And
I think he enjoyed it as well, didn't he?
what I liked, he did. I think he did. And what I liked about Nick, aside from all the humour, I found a lot of there was a lot of sincerity in what he was saying about how you shouldn't let, you know, opinions of others in your angling, you know, affect what you want to get from it. I remember him saying, especially, you know, for younger people that are trying to impress, say, for sponsorships or so on and so forth, he just says, go out and just do you and enjoy it. I thought, fair play, you know, that's a really good bit of advice, that.
I think Nick's always been a bit like that as well, hasn't he? He's always lived by his heart, hasn't he? And gone out and done it his way, and I think that's what makes him such a unique character as well. The fact
he's
that
certainly unique.
He's a proper enigma, isn't he, in carp fishing? And I'm really, really pleased that we managed to get him on the show. Because
and before we play the clip, I do just want to say it is true in what he said. I did chase him on the phone multiple times, and he did play me like a fiddle. He totally just went, "Yep, Tobe, I'd love to. Yeah, I'll get back to you very soon on that, mate." Oh, great, Nick. Really appreciate it, mate. Look forward to hearing from you. Weeks past, nothing.
I remember that evening. It's like, great, we got him on the show.
I can't believe it. Nick's coming on.
Yeah.
And then didn't hear from him for weeks. Sent him a few texts, never got back to me.
We got him in the end, though.
Well, like I said, we had to kidnap him, didn't we? Cable time and throw him in the basement.
We did. So the clip, I think, it's quite poignant, really, with Nick. We might as well just put on the very, very start of the show
because
it was absolute chaos.
It was, yeah. And, chaos to make, chaos to do it, but it was brilliant clip.
I didn't know what was going on either.
When he swapped you around the chairs, he went, I'm sitting that side.
Do you know what? It was nice to do a podcast without headphones on for a change as well.
I can now see why. I do apologise. Yeah. Nick figured it out, didn't he?
Right, shall we run the clip?
Let's do it.
Okay. But about time too.
Come on, man.
This was the only way of it.
Where am I? Can't see nothing.
Sorry, mate.
We need some scissors, Ed.
Oh, come on, boys, take these off. They're cutting into me.
What was it like down in the cellar then, Nick?
I don't know. I've had a hood on for the last 24 hours.
Tobe, thank you very.
Oh, here we go. Fucking hell. All right, you've got me. I've run, and they got me in the end.
He was difficult to get on, Tobe, wasn't he?
We've been after him for ages.
Yeah.
So have a lot of people. Right,
so we resorted in having to tie your hands together and like kidnap you, Nick, didn't we?
Yeah, it's cut my hand and everything.
I know, it's awful.
Yeah, don't sue us.
Right.
I'm here. Say no more. I'm here. Right. I've had a hood on for hours. Right, I'm here. Hello. For one, I'm not sitting there, mate.
What do you mean?
Camera's on me right.
Eh?
Camera's on me right.
But I'm the host. I always sit here.
I'm the boss. Turn it round. Right. I've got to sit that side. I'm really sorry.
Tobe, what's going on here?
Mate,
doesn't look like you're the host tonight, mate.
No, not host tonight. That's better.
What do you mean? You're in my seat.
You can keep that. I don't want that bit.
Okay, you don't want this.
There we go. That's much better. I'm left-handed. I've got to be viewed from the left. There's women watching this.
Of course, it's a bit bright over here. Stick the headphones on, Nick.
No chance.
Hey?
No, mate. No, I'm not doing none of that.
It looks brilliant. Him on your side with the wall.
This is strange. This is, Tobe, isn't it? Blimey.
Sorry. So to anyone that's watching, I look like a sweating rapist, but actually, I'm an outdoorsman, so being indoors is really, really difficult for me.
So are we not going to wear the headphones on this podcast?
I'm not wearing it. You can wear as many as you want, mate. Feel free.
Well, no, I'm not that keen on wearing them.
You're just trying to look the part, aren't you? Let's face it. Why would you wear headphones?
Well, it looks good,
If anybody else how many guests have you had that wore headphones?
All of them.
Well, there you go. I'm afraid
every single guest.
In life, I'm not a do-as-you-tolder. I've never been a do-as-you-tolder.
That surprises me.
My life's about freedom and freedom of choice, and like I choose not to wear your headphones.
You need to pull the mic up.
Closer?
Yeah, right close. You need to be right on that mic.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so you're comfortable now, are you? So you've been looking forward to coming on this podcast?
I really didn't want to do this. I've got to the stage in my life and in my angling life where I do solely what I want to. I know I've always done. I know I've always done what I wanted to do. I'm a bit of a free spirit in that respect. But yeah, I don't want to do stuff like this. I've got no interest in talking about myself. Why do you want to talk about yourself?
So why are you here?
Because Damo sends me nice leads, and I feel obligated to do something in return, and because I'm a good person. So like, he said, "Well, please come and do the podcast." I was like, "Yeah, of course, mate, no problem." And Toby actually was the one that I angled him like a pig.
How did you get to call Nick anyway, Toby? How did that happen?
Do you not remember the phone call? I've just spoke to Nick. You're like, how'd it go? I went, I don't know.
No, what happened was Toby rung me or sent me a message, and I thought, who's this Toby? I thought, I don't know. Who he
I
is.
spoke to you a year ago, Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke. You didn't sound very interested then.
No, I've got no interest in. I'm not semi-retired. I do what I want to do work-wise. I take it or leave it. I don't want to do this. I don't like talking about myself per se. I like telling a story and being funny and being the joker and stuff. Of course, I love that. But I'm just at a point in I'm 50 next year, and I'm just at a point in my life. I've fished. You've got to remember, I've fished so hard for so long. I've done so much of it, and such a varied field of it. I don't just do carp fishing per se. I do every form of carp fishing, from the most extreme to the most non-extreme. So I'm just, I don't know. I've managed to orchestrate my life in the last 10 years to the point where I do exactly what Nick wants to do when Nick wants to do it. So when people want me to do stuff, fair enough, I have sponsors, I have contractual obligations, and I have to do stuff like for sticky baits, I have to make a couple of films a year. But for someone like me, that's money for old rope. What, go and catch a carp and have a laugh doing it? Like, fucking hell, come on. Anyone can do that.
So the secret is to not ask you to do something, and then you're likely to do it.
No. The secret is just to not ask me at all and spring it on me when I'm either a little bit wayward, and then I might agree to it. But I don't want to do this shit anymore.
Yeah. Well, this is different though, this, isn't it? I mean, you've...
not really. It's the same old bollocks. But
You ain't been kidnapped before, have you?
No, I've never been kidnapped. Well, actually,
We
I
had
have
to go
been
to
kidnapped.
extreme
That's
lengths,
That's another story. It was nothing to do with fishing. Anyway, so I had a girl once kept me hostage for a few days.
Go on, what happened there?
Go on.
Seriously, it's a little bit blue for Korda podcast.
No,
I've got
no,
to be
no,
honest.
you can...
All right.
But
Well,
I'm just saying, I have been held against my will before now. Let's just say that. So, and by the police once. I was in a police cell once. Only once. And I'm 50 next year, so if you've only been in a police cell once in 50 years, I think that's fucking good going.
I've never been in a police cell. Have you, Tobe?
I haven't been in a police cell. No.
That's all right, you got that to come.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Maybe.
You got all these wonders of the world.
Sorry,
to
Dad.
come.
Well, this is completely different, but this is nice. I can see you for a change as well, Tobe. Actually, anyway. Nick Hallier, we are live. We're live. Welcome to the podcast.
We live?
Well, we say that, don't we? You've been watching them, haven't you?
No,
What?
I haven't seen one of them.
I bet you have.
I swear on my daughter's life, I have not seen one of them.
Well, anyway, we're live.
Oh. Hello, hello, fellow carp idiots. I bought you a present because I didn't know about
I
presents.
don't even need to ask you for the
But
gift.
but I'm a professional, so come on. Right, so I bought you a present,
Right.
not a load of this old tot, right? You might as well throw that. It looks like a jumble cell. Get rid of it. Anyway, I've bought you a Buddha because spirituality, as we know, goes hand in hand with life and angling. And although I'm not particularly religious, because of the nature of my life, if you like, I'm quite spiritual and really superstitious. I think that's the mark of an angler. And I bought you a Buddha because Buddha can bring light into darkness.
That nice little Buddha there.
Yeah, he brings light where there is darkness, but he also brings calm and happiness and good luck and good fortune. So
Well,
I'd like you to have that, and not just for you, but for everybody that comes into this room.
We're just give the old belly a little rub
give
as
the
well.
belly
innit?
a rub, make a wish. You never know your luck.
No, great. Thank you very much.
That's
It's a
fine.
little bit different.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. So you've said before, Nick, you're a bit of a Peter Pan sort of character. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a product. I've said it many times throughout my life. I'm a product of where I was brought up. That's what I am. If I'd have been brought up on a council estate in Glasgow, I'd have been long dead from heroin, I expect. As it is, I was brought up in the Colne Valley, surrounded by lakes, and like fishing's pretty much killed me. but you know what I'm saying. You're a product of where you brought up, and I am not just a product of where I was raised. I'm a product of the time I was raised. So I was brought up in an era where we had fucking much more freedom than the children of today. And if you're brought up in the, going and walking around in the middle of the night, climbing out my mum and dad's house at like ridiculously young, 8, 9 years old, like going out all night, 2 or 3 days sometimes, police being called, looking for, it was different, if I went out in the middle of the night, as long as I was back by dark, if my mum and dad got up and I was gone, they thought I was gone fishing. They'd check, bike's gone, I've gone
Well, I've
fishing.
heard this. Were your parents worried about you, or
I don't think they even realised half the time. If
were your
they're
parents? I mean, they weren't strict then. But I know you talk about your dad a bit as well. he was quite institutionalised.
Yeah, my dad was just, you know, what you got to remember was I'm 50 next year. So my dad came from a different time. You know, he came from a time where you went to school, you left school, you met a nice girl, you courted her, took her to a dance, got married, had a couple of sprogs, got a drum, and that was you. Your life was going to work to provide for your family, the family life, the great idyll, which of course, as we know now in the modern world, counts for shit. People don't want to do that. And if they do that, they find themselves at a fucking loose end in their 40s because it's all gone tits up.
Were you questioning that? Were you questioning that like right from an early age?
Yeah, I mean, my dad worked for the same company for 50 years. He was a great father. I had massive respect for him. He thought I was a complete idiot for going fishing. He couldn't understand it. He thought he wasn't spiritual like I am, or... I mean, spirituality comes from a lot of things, doesn't it? From mine is my life and the experience I've led, the drugs I took, like the whatever, like sum total. Do you know what I mean? If there was a Nick bucket, there'd be a fucking lot of stuff in it. Do you know what I mean? So, my dad, and he was a great father. He gave, you know, we grew up in a lovely house. We never wanted for anything. I wanted a BMX. I got a BMX. I wanted a CB radio. I got a CB. You know, as growing up. But he was an institutionalised worker. He worked for someone else. He made the money for somebody else. And I'm a product of a different time. Like the rave scene and all that changed hugely.
But you got a sister as well, haven't you? So
I've got a sister same age.
Is she similar to you?
Yeah, she was going out before I was, raving and all the rest of it, like 14 and stuff, clubbing in London. I mean, I was clubbing in London as a child. Like, you look back now, it seems all a little bit surreal, really. But I had a very free upbringing.
I love the story about you moving to Fairfield as well with the...
Yeah. Well, I didn't speak to my mum for about a year. Like, when we moved...
I wouldn't either.
No. I was born in North West London, actually. And we moved to Harefield when I was probably 3 or 4 years old. And my mum was going to buy the cottage in Cottage Bay at Savay. And the only reason she didn't was because she thought it was a little bit dark because it was surrounded by too many trees. And like,
too many strange anglers.
Yeah. And like, I'd be like... Could you imagine the trouble that would have caused?
Oh my God!
Me on the cottage, dropping them in the edge.
Yeah,
like aged fucking 12 or
That'd
something,
right,
catching one after the other. What's up with you lot? It's a bit difficult for you, is it? Hang on a minute.
Because they were fishing from there as well, weren't they?
No.
Hutchie
was poaching from round the back of the property.
Right. Yeah.
Like between there and the cottage, the canal bank.
Was he poaching? Or for the first rota, weren't they allowed to fish round there? I think they were allowed to fish on that bank.
Oh, I don't know about that. I really don't know about that. When I was fishing Savay from the age of 8 or 9, I guess.
When did she break the news to you that she was? She was.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't. To be honest with you, at the time, obviously, it didn't mean anything to me. But as I grew up, she kept saying, "Oh, I was fishing at Savay Lake. Sure, I nearly bought the cottage down there," and I didn't think nothing of it. But as I became a little bit older, I was like, "Fucking hell."
Do you know what, mate? I don't know how you do 4 hours in these chairs. These are awful. I don't know how our guests haven't complained after the shows.
I don't know whether I was whether I was grateful or not when these chairs and this table turned up, actually, because it wasn't exactly what we had in mind, was it?
No, but it's like
this is the sort of thing that my nan used to have in her house, like 70s decor. And do you know what? I spent so many hours sat in these chairs.
Yeah,
now, I think that my back is
just broken. That's why I've been in it. About 17 minutes.
I mean, I have constant physio and stuff.
Yeah,
but
I can feel it. My lower back. It doesn't like I'm slouching and it hurts.
Yeah,
it really not the one.
Oh, you'll get used to it. A few more hours in a chair, Tom.
Well, I hope not. Yeah, you haven't seen the one I've got behind the desk. It's this big, expensive, comfy one.
You've got a proper chair, right? Moving on to number 3.
Number 3. Number 3. Well, we come back to my old man, don't we? Mm. This was one actually that we both kind of agreed on. Not because, not biased, because he's my dad. I did say to him afterwards, and I stand by this, because he's, and he won't mind me saying this, he's got a lot of nerves. He doesn't enjoy doing stuff on camera. I don't know if it's because he's got all the knowledge but doesn't know how to say it, or he feels a responsibility to deliver. I don't know. But we both agreed when he finished his podcast, and I said to him afterwards, I said, mate, you have a way of telling a story. I can't remember the exact capture, and he's going to hate me for this, but he was talking about one where, and I remember it quite vividly, he caught it from a boat at night. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
What capture was it?
That was I'm pretty sure that was Eric's.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was
it might
Eric's
well have
comment.
been. But he was saying he was standing on the edge of the boat, and he just, the way he was describing it was like, and when the waves were lapping against the boat, I could feel myself rocking. But I said I was all right because I had this moonlight on me. I was like, I felt like I was in the boat with him.
He has got a way of telling stories.
Yeah, he has, and I think this kind of brings out the best in him, because when he told the stories of some, and he's caught some massive fish.
I think we called the podcast Under the Radar, and that's quite appropriate for your dad, because he runs the company here and he goes about his business quite quietly. Doesn't shout about what he's doing. You really have to sort of...
I don't think he does anything. I've seen him just have cups of tea and just that's it.
Yeah.
Ties a few rigs by his desk, maybe. No, but you are right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he, he's a very good angler. He's very, very meticulous about how he goes about his fishing. In some ways it's quite straightforward. It's very sort of mechanical and straightforward, but it's so deliberate. And not too many people know about his fishing. So it was, regardless of whether he's the managing director of the company or not, it's a great coup to get somebody to come on like your dad is, the angler that he is, and be able to tell us some of those stories, because they've never really been told before.
No, and he told them, like I said, he told them brilliantly. And I'm not, everybody knows I'm not a carp angler, but that was something that, I just totally bought into, just because he had such a way of telling it. And you just, from start to finish, the level of description that we've seen from loads of our guests was just, that totally made it.
Well, we had the British record common.
That's
that
it.
He started off with, and then we had those free foreign fish, those free foreign 80-pounders. Not too many people have done that either. So
he's like I said, I fish with him loads on the bank, and he is. Like you said, it's just a different level. It stresses me out a little bit. When I was carp fishing, I used to have my stuff set up. I go, do you know what? Nailed that. He'd come by and just goes, I'm not fishing with you if you leave it like that. Yeah, wonky.
Yeah, no, we've all been on the end of that time. And actually, it was a very early show as well, that one. So the
number
studio,
2, wasn't it?
Number 2, the studio wasn't ready. I was as nervous as hell, even though...
and he was digging me out in the first 5 minutes. I remember that. Yeah, because I used to train with him and I'd been out drinking all weekend. So I went in, because you remember the show starts, he's taking the mick out of me being on the weights. Yeah. Because I can't, I remember that. Yeah, cheers, Dad.
But it was funny looking at it back now, because I look at the way I present the shows now and everything. Crikey, I mean, we look so young as well. It's
this is aged you, this podcast, isn't it?
But it was. For me, that was a cult podcast, that. So this clip, we're going to be talking about, Damo's talking about catching, crikey, I forgot, Scar.
Scar, yeah,
so
brilliant
Scar,
clip.
And, he likes these premonitions and stuff like that as well.
That's,
so
that's actually,
the build up to the story.
Like I said, this is the one that we agreed was just, he told it so well.
Yeah.
Go on then, should we play it?
Let's play it.
Let's do it.
Next lake on our list.
On the list.
On the list was Graviers.
Right.
So in that lake, you've got the fish called the brownfish, which was an 80-pounder, and then you've got the scarred mirror, which was another genetic freak.
Yep. Do you want to just get into? I mean, people do know the story about the scar, but not everybody knows that.
I mean, briefly, the lake was the house that the guy Luke owns was a restaurant, and the story goes that the fish was caught by an angler in the lake. The fish was caught from the lake by an angler and shown to the owner of the restaurant. The restaurant owner kept the fish and tied some blue nylon rope around it so that he could basically let it out on a lead and then bring it in to show customers this carp. So after many years, however long it was, something happened and the rope broke or whatever, but the bit of rope that was around the fish remained. And then I think an English guy caught it, and I think it weighed 56 pounds or something, and he could still see the rope. He cut the rope off and pulled it out from under the fish, and then something genetically happened to the carp. Move that back, where he obviously thought, I need to eat. Didn't know when to stop. I've got to do something to combat whatever had happened to it. The next minute, it's coming at £80, £70, £80, £90. I think it even did £100 or 99. I think Andre caught it at £99. That was a world record. Yeah, man, it's just a massive, massive carp.
It was huge frame, wasn't it? Did you do many sessions on there?
No, I did one session with Clive and my mate Jonesy, and Clive caught the brownfish. I think it was 82 pounds. I think it was lovely carp, very unusual, very sort of leathery like. And then we went back. That was in the summer. Then we went back the following November.
Again, November, was there any reason for November? Good time to catch that fish?
Well, the thing was, you were at the mercy of ringing up on a particular day to get a trip. So, obviously Luke had his favourite customers and the rest of it. So we were new getting there. So we got a November trip. But it had form coming out in November, so I wasn't too bothered. So there was 3 of us on that trip, and we were fishing on the point. I was fishing on the side of point that looks up or down the lake, the side of where Luke's house is. And I was fishing, initially fishing to this sort of tree, which was along the bank, along my right-hand side. You're using a boat to go out and bait up and stuff. And I think within a couple of hours, I'd caught a carp. I think I'd had a 20-pounder off this spot. And the spot was just a tree, which had basically there's no snags in the lake, but with all the leaves and that on the bush, it had gone into the lake. And it created a bit of a feature, if you like, in a fairly featureless area. But the thing I'd noticed that under the bush where I was catching from, there was some clay. The clay was quite sticky. When you dropped the lead on it, you pulled it out, you'd get the clay on your lead. And all around that area, there wasn't that clay. So I caught one on that, basically just on a boilie with some sweet corn over it. And as the trip went on, I caught a few fish in the first few days. I caught 50-pounder, I think, 56-pounder. But the more the session went on, the more I was thinking, Scar's not down this end, he's down the other end. And the rules on the lake stipulate you have to have 2 anglers fish together because the fish are so big, you need 2 people to handle them. So I was stuck where I was. And Luke had said to me, the furthest you can fish is the swim that's along that bank. That's the furthest you can boat out. But I just had this feeling that Scar was down the other end. There's a big bar down the other end, and I just thought he was down there. I don't know why, it's just gut instinct, and I've got a lot of carp on gut instinct. And so on this particular night, I decided I was going to go out wide of that bank, go all the way down to that swim, fish in front of that swim, and hope over the next few days that carp might wander along that margin and find my bait. But when I got to that swim, it was pretty barren. There's nothing in front of it, there's trees either side of it, but it just didn't look very good. So I sort of paddled my way back up the margin in the boat, and probably halfway along that margin there was a tree again, which was overladen with leaves, and it was really in the lake. And I had to plod around with a lead and found some of that same clay. So I put my bait under that tree that night with 23 offerings, 2 16mm boilies on a hair rig, sort of like the DF rig we sell. I use that rig. Sort of 6 inches a stiff hybrid, some sweet corn. And when I got back to the bank, I said to the matey who was there, who was the other guy there, not Clive, I'm going to catch Scar tonight, and I'm going to set this alarm. It's going to be on high pitch. I was so confident I was going to catch it. When you hear that buzzer go, I'm catching Scar on that rod. And I'd even text Tom to say, I'm so confident of catching Scar tonight, it's going to happen. I could feel it in my bones. So that night was freezing, and we'd all sat in my bivvy. We were watching a film on the iPad or whatever. We'd like 3 gas heaters going in a big double, armadillo thing. And we were sitting in there in T-shirts, it was like freezing outside, but it was like, 30 degrees in there. So we had our tea, watched the film, went to bed. It was all tucked up and that, and I got a couple of bleeps on that high-pitched rod. And then it just sort of rattled off, jumped out, picked the rod up, and just thought, this feels big. Sorry, this feels really big. So I'm sort of playing it, winding it in, and it's a long way out. It's probably 300 yards out along the margin. You can't get caught up on anything. I'm pulling it back. I'm thinking, you can feel it through your forearm. The weight is in there when you're playing. And it sort of come round, and our mate boy's come over. I can't remember his name. He's come over, and I said, go and get Clive. Tell him I've got Scar on. So he's come over and he's gone, oh, mate, he said, you got a big one on. I went, yeah, mate, I've got a scar on. I'm sure of it. So I'm playing it in. So it's probably like 10 yards out. So I thought, I've got to look. Because I'm looking at the line with my head torch to see where it is. I've got to look at the fish. So there's a bit of splash on the top. Put the head torch on, see this pasty looking fish, thinking, I turned to Clive and went, that don't look like no 90 pounder, does it? And he went, no. So I was like, oh. So I was really sort of a bit disappointed. I was thinking, but it feels massive. So it's come round again, and I thought, let's get another look at it. So I turned the torch on, and all you could see was that line, the cut in the back, and the line going down the side of it. And I looked at Clive and, wow, this shit's just got real, So the swim I was fishing in, it sort of going around the front of the point. So I walked around the front of the point. So in between me catching the source A fish and going on the next trip, I use a dye mag landing net, and I got Graham to make me some 50-inch arms because of how ridiculous it was to get that fish in that source A conning. So I've got my new 50-inch arms. Again, I'm going to net this fish myself. So it's up on the surface. Got it up. Just got it in the net. It's gone in the net. No drama at all. Looked in the net and it was just enormous. Absolutely enormous. We've put the net down. Me and Clive had a big old hug, one of them moments. Sat there, we just took it in for a few minutes, and then you have to ring Luke. If you catch one of those big ones, anything over 50, give Luke a ring. So it's getting pretty windy by the time Luke's come round. Got it in the water and that. So Luke is very, very, very concerned about the welfare of his carp. So everything's unhooked and weighed, and everything's done in the water. It's a bit precarious, it's a bit clay, a bit slippy. But I was expecting with Luke there, we'd just get a couple of photos and then he'd want it to go back. But he was really well behaved, to be fair. And he told me, I turned it around. I got some banging photos of it in the dark, And I generally don't smile too much.
Get one for you.
But I was smiling. That fish weighed 93.5 pounds.
Yeah.
And it was just enormous.
Have you ever thought, what would have happened if you were telling everybody that you're playing that fish in?
And when it come off?
Yeah, Damien Clark's telling everyone that he's got this fish on, and then it was like a 30 pounder or a 40 pounder.
Well, you'd feel stupid, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean,
there it is for you.
So you really would. But I don't know. Sorry, I've had some of my biggest fish have come on. I've known, that opportunity is going to happen.
Yeah.
But there's no logical explanation for that. But I have sent text to people saying I really think I'm going to catch it, and it's happened a few hours later.
That's spooky, isn't it?
Yeah, without seeing it or.
How strange is that?
It's strange, yeah.
Still see the scale on it, can't you?
You can see the scale running down it, yeah. A lovely old carp, that. Really, a piece of carp fishing history.
It's just a massive framed fish, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Right, number 2 is our
get through these quick, haven't we?
I know. Yeah, we're flying through these.
Hopefully,
number 2 is our most popular podcast so far.
Yeah.
It's done 107,000 as of now, which is absolutely amazing.
You
for a
said
podcast.
to me when we come down to Liverpool, we're going to do some podcasts that have over 100,000 views. I just said, no, you're not.
No, that's amazing.
It's brilliant, really, isn't it?
I think as well, obviously when we started this whole interview studio thing was completely new to everyone as well.
Yeah, it was.
And we got access to some fantastic guests.
Yeah.
But 100,000. I mean, put it into context. I think when we make a thinking tackle or a masterclass, those films take months to make. There's an awful lot of work that goes into
time.
those.
And there's a lot of people on them as well. This is just me and you, really, isn't it?
I know, and we're just hoping that the audience is gonna buy into this and enjoy what we're doing as well.
Yeah.
So 107,000 is amazing.
Yeah, brilliant.
But I remember, so number 2, Simon Scott.
Has to be Simon Scott, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That was a fantastic episode. Again, his passion and, carp fishing aside, he's a legend, isn't he? The nicest guy. He's one of those people, if you'd never met him before, after 5 minutes, you feel like you've known him years.
Simon's got that extra bit of knowledge that your average carp anglers just can't, you know, that experience that your average carp angler just can't.
I'm going to pick these up because we spoke about these, didn't we? I know I did. I felt like I had my first day at school when he brought these in and we were talking about them, he was telling me
Pharyngeal
how.
teeth,
That's
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he had the whole skull, didn't he?
He did.
He was just telling me how it works and how they eat the hard about. I was like, oh, mate, he's a really intelligent guy, and these are awesome.
Fascinating.
They're the ones I
isn't it?
pick up the most when I come into work.
They came from a fish on the water park actually as well, near where I live, which was quite poignant as well. I remember going over to Simon's house before recording the show, meeting up with him.
Yeah.
And he's got a lovely place out there, and there was some other stuff that I wanted to come out on the show, which didn't come out on the show, which people will probably find out about in the future. But that's Simon's story to tell.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, as well, he was still fishing for the Burfield Common at the time.
Yeah.
And now he's just caught
Well, that's a bit different now, isn't it? Yeah. Cool. Imagine you go back in time, this fish, you're going to catch it, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fair play. No, like I've said it to him before, but congratulations, because that to him was massive, wasn't it?
No, and I mean, it was a long term, I mean, a 20-odd year campaign, I'd imagine. It was a long time. And,
it's a long time. It really,
I think the whole carp fishing world was
we were all,
absolutely
do you remember,
chuffed
were you in
for
the
it.
office when he caught it? Were you?
Yeah.
I was in. Were we in?
Yes.
I know I was.
Were we recording a podcast?
I'm sure we were, but somebody came in the office, didn't they? They came in the door. They were like, "Simon's caught it." We were like, "What?"
Our guest on the show got a text on his phone.
No, yeah, that was it. Who was it?
It was Jimmy, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure it was Jimmy.
Yeah, it must have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about right.
Simon caught the Burfield Common.
Oh, so it came from Jimmy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
God, but yeah, I remember, and it just went round the building. Everybody was buzzing for him, weren't
Yeah.
they?
Well, it's nice, isn't it? I think when you've got a certain character like that, and everybody kind of wants to see those. It's a bit like with Lee Jackson catching two-tone.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
He put an awful lot of time into that place, and Simon absolutely loves that lake.
Yeah.
He just loves. I don't know what he's going to do now because.
Well, that's it now, isn't it?
I mean, it's a special place. There's a lot.
Everybody talks. All the guests that have come on have always talked about Burfield. Tom Stokes, Osholness. It just seems to be again.
It leaves an impression on everybody that's fished there.
Everybody talks about it quite highly.
Yeah, and you almost don't want to catch that fish too quickly.
Well, it's like you've completed carp fishing, isn't it? Really, that's how it seems. I'm not an angler, but that's how it feels.
That's a big mountain.
You've done it. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so it was great, but obviously he couldn't talk about the Burfield Common then because.
Well, you hadn't quite got there yet.
So we got onto Raysbury.
Yes.
And Mary and the clip we're going to show there. I mean, it was just the whole emotion.
It was like he relived it in that moment, didn't he? I tell you, I loved that episode so much. Honestly, we recorded that of the day they called a pike, didn't we? One of our chaotic days where we just did everything, not enough time. We finished recording with Simon. Great episode. I had to shoot home to get ready for the party. You went to Lakeside because you hadn't got an outfit yet.
I had to buy an
so
outfit.
You had to go and buy an outfit. Simon had to go home and get changed as well. We made it to the party just in time. Had a few beers, nice dance later on, and then I went over to see Simon. Rather, I had a few beers. I had quite a few beers. And I saw Simon sitting down with his wife,
Sue, isn't it?
Sue, yeah, she's lovely as well. Well, yeah, because you'll find out why. But I saw them sitting down having dinner together, and it just occurred to me. I thought, you know what? I loved his show today. He's a brilliant guy. I said, I've got to go and tell him. I've just got to go and tell him how amazing he is. You know what it's like after you had a few beers, you love everyone, don't you? So I went over to Simon at the table, put my arm around him while he's eating dinner. I mean, this is horrendous when you think about it. I went, Si, you were brilliant today. I loved that episode, man. I'm sure I went, I love you, Si. That was brilliant.
What did Sue say?
Sue's, I think, giggling away at me and stuff like that. And Si, bless him, said, I love you too, Toby. He said, yeah, you're brilliant as well, mate. Like, totally understanding. I've had too many beers, but he was lovely about it. And but you know what? I don't regret it because it's true.
So do you think after we recorded that show, we probably considered that maybe the best show straight afterwards? Yeah,
I think so. And there's there's a reason why it's our number 2. It was brilliant. For many reasons. And this clip that we're about to play with Capture with Mary just shows exactly why, doesn't it?
I do like to say, before we put the clip on, I did also like the fact as well with Simon that we got into Simon's personal life and is struggling with dyslexia and stuff.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that.
Yeah.
and I think it's a good example to everybody that's got learning difficulties.
Yeah, and we had
if you're really passionate of something enough, you can do that, and you've just got to fight for what you want.
Yeah, and we got a lot of I'm sure we got a lot of people get in touch after that episode, and thanking Simon for sharing his difficulties and stuff, because as you said, it's a brilliant example of how you can do what you want.
It was a complete show, mate.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. We'll put the clip up now.
I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah. So we're just building up to. I think Simon's just had some encounters with the gypsies or something on the lake.
I think so.
I think he starts from there, and then we get into Catching Mary.
Brilliant. Let's watch it.
But going back to Mary, I'd done my lap round, having stashed my gear. And I was in the car park, in the Douglas Lane car park, in a swim which was called the Route Nightmare, a very famous swim. It produced a lot of big fish. And I sat in the Route Nightmare with Mark Tolland, Cockle, who a really nice guy. I love Cockle to bits, smashing character, huge character of carp fishing. Not about so much now, but great character. And I was chatting to Cockle, and we're looking out at the lake, and Cockle was just leaving, and he said, "Do you want another cup of tea?" And I went, "Yeah, I'll have another cup of tea." And we're looking out at Raysbury, and literally 60 yards out, a fish just comes out and just goes, "Badoosh." And he looked at me and went, "That'll do then." And I looked at him and went, "Yeah, that'll do." And I thought, that's cool. So we drank our tea. And while we're drinking our tea, another one showed. And so Cockle said, "Well, good luck, I'll leave you to it." So I set off, I put my life jacket, I blew up my little inflatable dinghy, which is smaller than this table. It was tiny, like a rubber ring. And it wasn't like a cool Sevlor, it wasn't green or anything like that. It was bright blue and yellow. And I set off across Raysbury with my life jacket. I'm paddling away my little paddles, and in between my legs I had a little bucket of marker floats, so film canisters with leads. So I paddled out to 60 odd yards where I'd seen the fish, and just tried to hold position. And there was a wind blowing from left to right, southwesterly, and there was lovely conditions, overcast, and it was perfect fishing weather. And while I'm out there, this huge fish came up 20 yards from the boat, literally back into the waves. And I was like, "Oh, am I?" And I remember my heart pounding. And I literally paddled to the spot, and I just put a marker float straight down on the spot, clip the cork, drop the lead down, and then put it on the cork and set it in position. So it's sitting there just bobbing in the ripple. And in fact, it was a film canister I'm holding.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
Yeah, I'm holding this one up now. For those not watching, it's old-fashioned little black film canister. So what I'd do, I'd have a cork inside this, and round the cork would be nylon, 25 foot of nylon, and then have a 3-ounce lead. So I'd drop that to the bottom, close the lid to trap the nylon, and then that would just sit there and it would just bob on the waves, and it would be perfect as a market float. Yeah. Handy and discreet. Very true. And so I ended up with about 6 of these dotted around the area. So what I'd sort of, as I'd seen fish show, I'd drop these things close to where they showed. What I then did is I went back to the bank, and I picked up a rod with a lead, and I went donking. So I didn't have an echo sound or anything technological like that. So I went out, and I went to the first marker float, and I just back-wound, as I drifted past it, I just back-wound my lead down, and it went thump, and lifted it, and went thump, lifted it, thump, and lifted it, and then I thought, weed. So I paddled back upwind again and did the same routine. And after about an hour of doing this, I realised that there was a sort of a landing strip of clear with weed banks either side of it. And I thought, well, that's perfect. So I kept it really simple. All I did was I'd move my floats about a tiny bit so they were sort of lined up on this clear strip on the bottom. So I had a float at either end and one in the middle. And all I did with my rods was paddle upwind and then back wound the lead down so it went bump on that clear landing strip. And I'd bring it back up again and just practice it again. Bump, third time. Boom, right, that's set perfect. Take the rod back to the bank, lay it in the margins, do the second one the same, third one the same. So that's the rods in with 3 or 4 little grains of corn on each one. Then I paddled back out and I got 21 grains of Pescaviva corn in my hand, and I literally went flick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 18, 19, 20, 21.
Spread it around a little bit?
Yeah, spread it around, yeah. Paddled back to the bank, got set up, got everything, house up. Wind's blowing. I looked like a tramp anyway. This was causing me chaos, so now my brolly's fallen over on its side, and I couldn't get the pegs in the ground and anything. That was all my problems. Got my bob, and the wind is blowing, and the weed is collecting on the line, so the rod's going deet 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 deet. Anyway, about 1 o'clock, beep flyer. So I play this fish, and it gets weeded up, and I'll be honest, I'm a long time past being on the lake, and I'm never going to need that ticket again. So it weeded me up quite badly, so I had to slip into my boat in the night, put my life jacket on, went out and got above it. Sorry for breaking the rules. And I got above the fish, and I'm playing this fish, and I'm thinking, it feels like a good, and it was fighting quite hard. I got it up, eventually get it in the landing net, and it was another common. I'm thinking, they really do like sweet corn, because as far as I could establish, there was hardly any stockies getting caught at that point, and I'd had 2 of them now in measles. Got the fish sorted, went back out, repositioned the rod exactly in the dark. Now I had sight lines on the tree, so I knew where my landing strip was, so I went boom, perfect. So I got that back out there, got set up, got back to bed, got back in my sleeping bag. 2 o'clock, another one note on the same rod. Absolute flyer. This fish 4 and 4 and 4, and it's tearing up and down. I'm thinking, nobody catches 3 stocky commons. You know, it's just this would have been 2 in a night, but I was thinking, I've already had 1, so this will be my 3rd stocky and measles. I'm thinking, this can't be another. It's going to be a big one. And I'm playing this fish, and I don't know why, but I had in my head it was Mary's mate, because it was really fighting hard. But of course, I was thinking about pictures of what raspberry fish it could be, and anyway, eventually I slide the net under this common, £20. Oh, I can't believe it. And then I paddle back to the bank. I think, 2 £20 commons. This is unreal. I've had 3 £20 commons now, and measles. Come on, no one's caught 3. So I go out, put the rod back out, get back into my sleeping bag, and that's that. I wake up at first light, and I trot down the bank quickly, and I give Jim Shelley, who's in the next swim, the Mad Dog swim, a shout and say, Jim, I've got a couple of stockies. Could you help me with the photos? He goes, oh, Boise. I won't take Jim off. I can't do it well. But he says, nobody catches. You are the pest control officer. So he christened me the pest control officer. I was thinking, well, I'm happy with that, because as far as I'm concerned, if they're little fish, they're a big fish. So we're sat there it was a horrible morning, and we're sat in I took some quick pictures of the stocky commons, the pests, as Jim called them, and he's going, the pest control officer, does the pest control officer want a cup of tea? And I said, yeah. So we sat in Jim's car, and I remember where I sat. I sat in his passenger seat. He was sat in the driving seat on the left, and I'm sat on the right. No, I got that the wrong way around. I must have been sat the other side. I was sat on the left, he was sat on the right. And I had the window slightly ajar, and I could see my rods. They were only 20 yards in front of me. And we're drinking a cup of tea, and he's got the windscreen wipers on, and the engine's running because it was cold and we were both damp. And we're looking out across Raybury and not seeing a fish show. And I just remember the moment so clearly. I get emotional every time I tell this story. The middle bobbin lifted, pulled up tight, and there was a single bleep. And then absolutely all hell let loose. It's just absolute... and this bit of weed tented up, and it just stayed on the line, and the middle rod has just gone flat down to the water. I run down, and Jim says, I'll get the bow, and I went, "It'll be another common." He goes, nobody ever catches 3 stocky commons in a night. So I'm holding the rod, I'm playing this fish, and it's just taken line and taken line and taken line, and I'm thinking, this one's really pulling very, very hard. And it takes Jim. Now, Jim is, those of you that know Jim Shelley well, and I say he handled the situation brilliantly, but he isn't Linford Christie. He ran back to his swim. He got his hard bottom boat, because I said, I'll go out in the dinghy. He went, no, it's too rough. You're going to need a hard bottom boat. And he paddled back with his boat up along the bank. He said, get in. Yeah. And while I'm getting into the boat, it's still taking line. I'm thinking, this is just pulled and pulled and pulled and pulled. Anyway, we get out there. And I get above the spot where obviously the back of the clear strip where I'd hooked it from, and the rod hoops over, and I'm grind, pull, and the rod's bent over, and and Jim says, "What pound hook link you got?" I went, £12 big, £12 big game straight off the reel. I cut it off and tied the rigs before I set up. He went, £12 line. He said, "Yeah." I said, "It'll be fine. It'll be fine because." I've got a size 6 Drunnen Continental boiler hook on. It'll be fine, Jim. Don't worry about that. The line will be fine. It's just if and he goes, "Oh my God, you're fishing at Raspberry with a £12 hook link." Anyway, I've got the rod's bent over, and there's those people that have been out in a boat and had a fish, and we will know this feeling all too well. There's that lovely sensation. It's sort of solid, and then there's just a little rocking motion. and you can feel the fish's fins moving, and then the rod just gives a little nod as the fish kicks, and that lovely moment when the tip starts to pull back down to the water, and you think, still on there. And that went on and on, and it went through weed bed after weed bed after weed bed. And at some time during the journey, the fish had done a full 90-degree turn and gone left, and my lead was running on the line, didn't have a clip or anything, so I had a bull lead on, 3 or 4 ounce bull lead, and that ran off down the line, and we turned direction. We went sort of left a bit up in the wind, and Jim's paddling away. Now Jim is stood in the back of the boat with the paddles with his Polaroids on, doing like the Jim look, and I'm crouching in the front, and I just had an old raincoat on, I had shorts on, the rain was coming down, it was windy, I couldn't see anything, I was just playing the fish. And this huge tail came out on the surface at one point during the fight, and it just thrashed across the surface. Now Jim stood behind me. I went, "Don't tell me. Just keep the boat solid. Don't tell me what it is. Just keep the boat solid. Keep the boat solid, Jim. Don't want to know. Let's just play the fish." And that moment, that whole shopping list of monsters in that lake runs through your head, because you're thinking, Malins, tail's the wrong colour. Are you thinking about Dave Lane's book? Tail's the wrong colour, wrong shaped tail. Cluster, wrong colour on the back of the fish. It's not cluster. It's not the right colour of the fish. The fish is the wrong colour. The pug, no, it's definitely not the pug. It's the wrong colour. It's definitely not Jacko's common. It's not a common. It's definitely a mirror. And you go down that list, and you suddenly think, oh no. It's Mary, please don't come on, please don't come on. And this fish at that point, it was like having a dog on a lead. It just powered off beneath the boat. And I remember thinking, oh no. And my rod's bent over again, and it absolutely weeded me up solid again. And I'm thinking, no, please don't come off. And anyway, fight goes on. It went on. It just seemed to go on forever. And eventually, this huge ball of weed came up, and Jim sort of leapt over me, scooped it up in the net, and I just collapsed in the back of the boat. As you can tell from my voice now, the emotion at that moment was just completely off the scale of my fishing. And I sat back in the back of the boat, and I went, "Is it Mary?" He went, "Of course it's bloody Mary. What a fish would fight like that, for Christ's sake, man. It's Mary every day of the week. What do you think it was?" I'm like, "Stocky Common. Get out of here." And we paddled back. Anyway.
Do you think he knew straight away on the bite?
I think he knew pretty early on, but he never said a word, bless him. And yeah, without a doubt, during the fight, he knew exactly what it was. And I knew from the tail when it come up. But there's that moment of, it just can't be happening. You know, when you start carp fishing, you tell from my emotions.
Yeah, I know, it's great. I love this.
But at the time, when you start carp fishing, I know as a young kid, you're fishing little lakes, and you dream of catching the big one in the lake. All of a sudden, you're catching the biggest carp in the country. And that takes some getting your head round. And when I get it back to the bank, and you're there, and it's like laid out on the mat, you just think, oh, that's the biggest mirror carp in the country. I've caught the biggest mirror carp in the country. I've caught the biggest mirror carp in the country. This is the current British record carp. And I've caught it. I've caught it on 3 grains of sweet corn, over 21 grains of sweet corn, on a size 6 hook and 12-pound line. Jim, bless him, said, we did the photos, and it's still the whole thing still seems insane. We did the pictures, let the fish go, and I did fish on for another hour or two, and then I said, Jim, can we go and buy some beer?
Okay, number one.
Do you know what? It's been nice to, we've been doing this, 2 years now? And to look back on. And this was hard because we had loads of clips. We had loads of brilliant shows. Tom Stokes, for me, is another good honourable mention, if you like. I was a big fan of Oz. We've had so many guests, haven't we?
I got a rock star on the show.
Adrian Smith, yeah, of course, brilliant. David Seaman, again, I had to.
They're all great. They're all great in their own
I had to keep, as an Arsenal fan and someone that used to play in goal, I had to keep my cool when David walked in. Bobby, I really liked Bobby. Just a nice, down-to-earth guy. And again, back from to in-house ones with Dovey and Spooner. It's nice to hear their story.
I like doing some of these shows with guests as well that don't do so much of this media stuff.
Yeah.
It means a lot for them to come on the show.
Yeah.
And you can see that in the amount of preparation that they put into coming on the show.
Yeah, Ash and John Baker, more recent episodes.
Very, very diligent people. And I mean, it just meant a lot. And they want their story to come across as good as possible. Yeah. So those sort of guests, they're brilliant as well.
Yeah, we've had they are. We've had so many. It's like, we can't name them all. We'll be here for ages. But
there is a standout, isn't there?
Absolutely. I get shivers just thinking about it. There is an obvious standout for a number of reasons. This person's show, I played for family members, friends, people that aren't interested in fishing, and everybody said the same thing, which is lovely. It's just said, what a legend. And it's true. He was an awesome person. I had the pleasure of being able to meet him. Well, I met him once, and then we did a Zoom podcast with him as well, didn't we? And by every time, just got you laughing, innit? So.
Yeah, if anyone doesn't know, we're talking about Ian Mcmillan, who unfortunately passed away a few weeks ago. I built up quite a close rapport with him.
Yeah, I know you did.
He's one of those guys that if he liked you and got to know you, he was incredibly sensitive guy.
I know it's difficult for you and that you were really good friends with him, as loads of people in this building were, and I'm just, I'm grateful I got to meet him a couple of times, as people watching this will know exactly what we're on about, because he was just the warmest, funniest, down to earth, just normal guy, but he was just lovely to be around, wasn't he?
He just loved people.
Yeah, and his show, mate, was obviously, it had its ups and downs, for the obvious reasons, but the parts that we want to highlight to people in this clip that we'll play is his humour, his warmth. He just had his laugh, and he liked taking the mick out of you as well, which was my favourite bit.
He was he was taking the piss out of me right until the end.
I'm sure you've got one or two good ones that you've told me before about Ian taking the mick out of you.
Well, I mean, we're going to play that in a minute, but being at the train station and stuff, and he drops me off at this train station, and I get a bit disorientated, don't I?
I do remember this.
I'm walking away from the railway station when he drives off. And I could see him, and I think, if he looks at me now, he's going to think, what the hell's he doing? But we told him on the show, didn't we?
Yeah, I forgot about this. This was when you went down to meet him.
And then it took all those hours to get home, and when I told him, he found that absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. He just got a right. Even our...
Do you know what? When I was in the hospice as well, right, he said, "Si, just pour us some water."
Yeah.
And he knows what I'm like. He knows how clumsy I ended up like tipping water all over him. He said, "Why the fuck did I ask you to? I should have known better, shouldn't I?" It was like that. It wasn't so much. He didn't need to say too much. It was his reaction.
Yeah,
as well.
It was. Yeah. And he just even on lockdown listens. I'm sure he said he had some good digs on you on there.
Yeah.
But even that just shows what Ian's like. We had a Zoom call, and it was just like no different than him being in there. He was just.
No, he loved that. And this gift that we got here as well.
I mean, there's a reason it's always stayed in the centre of that table, isn't it? I mean, it's just don't get, and it's the one gift. Even for the Guru show that I do, doesn't matter who comes in, everybody goes. They know what it is straight away.
And do you know what? Just after he passed away, you come back into the studio. Actually, the day after, I didn't go over to that actually, but it was when I drove home, and I thought I'm quite glad because you just look at that, and that reminder of Ian is there. Yeah, but after that, I do, and I think now I sort of just go over to the old box and just think, thanks, mate.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I'm sure he'd have some quick-witted response to take the mick out of you again.
I'm sure he would. Yeah,
he would.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to play the last 10 minutes out of that podcast.
Yeah,
and we'll just finish the show.
Yeah, I think that's the best. That's the best way to do it. The last 10 minutes of the show. We're not going to come back and close it, are we?
No,
we're going to play it out, and that's how it should be.
Okay, well let's play it now then, shall we? Thanks, Ian.
So Bullets then caught this fish, and I said we need to name it. We need to call it Beadle, because obviously Jeremy Beadle had that little diddy hand. Bullet's just laughing. Either Beadle or the claw.
Yeah, that's it.
Something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. So we ended up not calling it either. So anyway, we've then gone to Bullet telling us how we caught this fish. He said, so did you have it off our spot? I said, Rog. He went, bit of a story here, Tong. He says, I've dropped the rig. I've come back. I've got within 40 yards of the bank. I've got no line on my reel because I haven't changed my line for a few years. So he said, basically, I then had to just go back. So then like this with his hands, reel back out, pick the rig out, drops it roughly where he thinks he's got enough line to get back to the bank. 65 pounder. So the moral of the story is, don't be too meticulous. Don't give a shit where you put them.
Yeah.
Don't look where you put them, and you'll catch 60 pounders like Bullet.
Close your eyes and throw them.
But he was a bit rough last year, but they've put him on some new medication, and he's like firing on all cylinders again, according to Clive.
Oh, good.
But yeah, he's a good advert for. There's lots of things he can't do. Like he does nothing quick. He really doesn't. He's a legend
as well. Yeah.
He would be a great podcast because he loves a story.
He can come on. He can come on soon.
We'll definitely have him on.
What you should do is you should have Damo and Bullet.
Oh, can you
it's got to be Damo and Bullet,
that.
hasn't it?
Together, it would be carnage.
We're waiting for Regan to come on as well with him. So
I met Regan. He was with Damo at Euroaqua. Because I was in carp mode at Euroaqua, because I wasn't really a boozer, and neither is Damo really. Pete Regan, he loved him. The owner, that Alex, loved Regan because Regan loves it. He's got so many stories to tell.
He's very, very dry, but you know, he's definitely got some stories to tell, isn't he?
I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed his company.
Him and Damo, they seem to bounce off each other really well. They've been threatening to come on for a while, but I'm not sure about me and Pete just doing a one-on-one podcast.
Oh, no, Pete would be useless because there'd be too many swear words.
I
know we swear
I just couldn't control it.
No,
I don't have the editing capability to sort that out.
No, I don't think so.
We'll be doing overtime.
That's it.
But no, like I said, there's so many potential guests that we want to come on the show.
But it's just good. I like being around. Yeah. When we go to France, we have carp time, and we have pissing around time.
Yeah, it's nice.
And I like that.
Yeah.
But we catch some big fish whilst doing it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. You've got to put yourself on these lakes where the fish live. There's no point wanting to catch an 80 pounder if you're fishing at the Quay.
Do you think you've worked it out over the years then that you don't necessarily need to be ultra serious? You can kind of just I do,
yeah, but I still won't be able to help myself. I'll be more relaxed in May because I'm in the lodge.
But you can do both. You can kind of do both more.
Yeah. And I just, the thing is with Pascal's, the fish is so nice. You do earn every one. And even a couple of 30 pounders, they're lovely.
Yeah.
They're like English carp, which is why we go there. And Clive, because Clive is lazy in a boat, he won't go in one. He keeps going to Pascal, well, I think you should kill the weed because then the fish would get bigger eating boilies, which they probably would. But then it wouldn't be the same lake because it'd just be a 10-foot blank canvas. Where you could just cast out anywhere and catch them.
Yeah, you're taking the soul of the lake away, aren't
yeah,
you?
you're ripping its spine out.
Yeah, you are.
And she has lots of complaints about the weed. Pascal does, but she's done bits to it, and she'll ask me my opinion. Of course, I'm like, don't treat it, because you can't beat that fishing from a boat. You know everything's bang on, But Clive, even if you drop the rigs out for Clive, which he lets you do, because he likes you doing jobs for him. Clive likes that. Likes having little bitches around him. He'll still reel them in every day to put them back on exactly the same spot. Well, I'm quite happy to leave mine out for 2-3 days if I have to. And you're going to Pascal's, 10 fish for the week for the 4 of you is 10 to 12 bites. You've had a good week on Pascal's because there's not that many fish in there.
Yeah, you can go. Like I said, these 10 bites a day or whatever. You just.
I don't want to cut. No, yeah, it's not a bit of me.
10 fish in a week. I mean, it's still a good week's fishing, isn't it? If you can get that, you know. And
some of these open access shoots I do with Mozzie, it's gone right off, and in the end we just reel in.
Yeah,
I don't want to catch. I don't want to be Tommy Maker catching 50 fish in January at Linear. I'd caught 5 and reeled in and got bored, probably.
Yeah, we went to Oxley's. Mentioned this on the podcast before, but we went to Oxley's in the summer, and we had a few bites really, really quickly, and it's like, bloody hell, this is hard work. It's too much.
Me and Beachy used to go to Drayton.
You like the thought of it. And then as soon as it starts going off, you think, this is
Yeah. We used to go to Drayton once a year, me and Beachy. So we go on the dam wall, just fish zigs for the day. It's easy. And you're all fired up because it's cold. And you think, I'll get a bite on a zig. And the depth at Drayton was always from the rod tip to your bail arm. It was easy, just tie loaded. And I never used to spod shit over them because I don't want to get it all over me. It's too messy for me. So beaches there covered in the stuff. So I have a couple of bites and I get bored. Pack my gear away and just play around with him all day.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And he's the same. You think, have you caught enough now? Yeah, can we go home now?
It's because we're getting older as well.
I do it on my terms
Yeah.
now. I want to fish the lakes that I want to do that only eat boilies. You know.
3 hours. We've been talking.
Have we
for a
really?
while. Yeah, I knew it'd be a long one. Enjoyed it? It's been good. Yeah.
Don't look at me like that because I want to cry again.
Yeah, no.
I'm glad she wasn't here. I was going in depth about her.
Yeah, no, but it's nice, and yeah, we can.
You've taken my mind off things.
I can see that. Yeah,
I'm smiling.
I'm pleased.
Didn't smile much until I come here.
No, but you do make people smile. You've got that way about you. I mean, we don't know each other that well, but I just get.
I did enjoy you when you came to Stoke. It was good, even though you tried to get on a bus instead of a train.
You're going to go away this
week. Did I tell you about that?
No.
Oh, right.
You possibly shouldn't go out unaided, I think.
No. I got there all right, didn't I? So I got to the train station.
The train brings you from one train station to another.
But,
however, you got off the bloody platform.
I was quite proud. I came out the station. I thought, yep, bang on time, great, okay. But just getting home. I got home at midnight that night. But no.
We're laughing back here.
You got home at midnight?
I did.
I dropped you off about 5:30.
It's a long way.
I could have walked to Cheltenham.
Maybe. Yeah.
Oh, Simon.
But it's an adventure, mate, isn't it? That's what we love, isn't it? You want to see some of the places I've been to in the world as well, and I've survived,
There's hope for me.
Yeah, there's hope.
Even in my situation, I can look at someone like you and think, thank fuck I'm not Simon.
Compared to some of the situations I've been in. Ian, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are going to be wishing you well over the next few months, and we just want to see you, just doing what you do well, enjoying it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
The Thinking Tackle Podcast.